Você ama garantir uma vaga na universidade com a sua nota do Enem? Então venha para a AMB Morumbi. Aqui você está sempre conectado com o mercado de trabalho e coloca a mão na massa desde o primeiro dia de aula. Tudo em ambientes inspiradores, com metodologia de ensino inovadora e uma estrutura de ponta. Use agora a sua nota do Enem. Inscreva-se em amb.br. AMB Morumbi. Aqui tudo acontece.
Hello and welcome to the British English Podcast, helping you better understand British culture, British people, and British English. In this bite-sized episode, I'd like you to picture me on the London Underground. The carriage is rumbling along as commuters sit in their usual London bubble, avoiding eye contact at all costs, of course. And I look across and I see a suited city worker engrossed in their Financial Times, or more likely scrolling through the Financial Times app on their device. And I look to my right and I see someone else flipping through the metro, their paper coffee cup balanced precariously on their lap. It's a classic London moment, isn't it? And while tablets, phones and e-readers have taken over, every now and then you'll still catch someone with an actual newspaper, and it's these rare moments that inspired today's episode. You see, in the UK, the newspaper you read says a lot about you. So today, I'm going to take you on a little journey through London, imaginary but vividly real in my mind, to explore the stereotypes, quirks and characters behind some of Britain's most iconic newspapers.
Você ama ter mais flexibilidade para estudar? Então, use sua nota do Enem e garanta uma vaga na AMB Morumbi. Aqui, você pode escolher qual modalidade se adapta melhor à sua rotina. Presencial, semipresencial ou ensino à distância. Tudo com metodologia inovadora e prática desde o início do curso. Descubra por que milhares de alunos amam estudar aqui. Use agora a sua nota do Enem e inscreva-se em amb.br. AMB Morumbi. Aqui, tudo acontece.
The first stop, a cosy coffee shop in Marylebone. And I might spot a man with the Times open, sipping what can only be described as the most meticulously brewed flat white. In my mind, he's the kind of person who pens strongly worded letters to MPs, reads biographies for fun, and owns at least one tweed blazer. The Times newspaper is all about tradition, intellect, and a pinch of understated superiority. Its readers like to think of themselves as the guardians of rational thought. Of course, in reality, the man could just be flipping through the headlines while waiting for his smashed avocado toast at £15 a pop. But it's London. Everyone's playing a role, even if they don't quite realise it. But after having paid for their coffee and ditched the newspaper, would they ditch it? Maybe they would leave it. Maybe the cafe had a copy of today's, of the Times. So he left it on the table, and we're going to follow him back onto the tube. And then it's a bit quieter now, the train, and to your right, you see someone scrolling through The Guardian on their tablet. Yeah, maybe they're reading an article about sustainable farming, nodding thoughtfully as though they've just solved climate change themselves. I imagine this person heading to a vintage shop later, perhaps to find an ethically sourced cardigan. Yeah. So The Guardian, I'd say, is for the socially conscious, the debate starters, the ones who care deeply about what's next and not just what's now, if that makes sense. And then if we get up, walk down the carriage a little, and you'll no doubt see somebody reading the Metro, the trusty commuter companion, because it's become probably the most visible one that I see nowadays, mainly because it's free. It's distributed pretty much at the entry of every train station and tube, so it's trying to get the attention of people because it's free and accessible. It's very lightweight and filled with just enough content to distract you from the awkwardness of a packed train. It's everyone's backup plan. Let's go for that. If their headphones have died, their book stays forgotten at home, or they just want a quick look at the football scores, perhaps, then the Metro is for you. And I think it's a fairly safe bet to not be signalling who you are, because it's the opportunist's paper. It's it's for somebody who's just wanting to pass some time. I mean, I guess that says something about you if you are that person. I wouldn't pick up the Metro because I have an infinite amount of things that I want to do on my phone because it's more personalized. So that probably does say something about you if you're wanting to read the Metro. It might mean that you don't have any particular interests, or you don't mind looking at the world through a fresh lens. Let's say it like that, yeah. I think the train, let me just check. Yeah, the train's pulling into Canary Wharf, and you can feel the change in energy as we pull up to this station. This is the land of suits, lattes and ambition. Here, someone might be holding a folded Financial Times. Yes, the iconic salmon pink pages practically screaming, "I'm fluent in economics and probably know what yield curve means." I imagine the Financial Times reader starting their day with a podcast about global markets, debating the pros and cons of AI investments over lunch, and finishing with a glass of Malbec in the evening, assuming you're not working late, of course. So the Financial Times is serious business for serious people, or at least people who want to appear serious. And now by lunchtime, where will I have gone? I've wandered over to a pub in Soho. On one table, a man might be laughing over a copy of The Sun. Its sensationalist headlines are legendary, shocking football scandal or celebs wild night out. Readers of The Sun are here for the gossip, the cheeky humour, and the sports pages. It's like a pint in paper form, easy, light, and a bit rowdy. Yeah. Meanwhile, on another table, a group might be huddled around a copy of The Mirror. It's the working class champion, focusing on stories about everyday people's struggles. If The Sun is the loud laugh at the bar, The Mirror is the compassionate voice quietly pointing out the real issues that need fixing. Later on in the day, I'm strolling down Oxford Street, weaving through tourists and dodging rogue shopping bags. And that's when I spot a Big Issue vendor. Now, if you're not familiar, the Big Issue is a newspaper, or it's more like a magazine, but it's sold by people facing homelessness. And so buying it isn't just about getting a copy, it's a small act of kindness. The articles inside are thought-provoking, tackling social issues with depth and honesty. It's the only paper that makes you feel good about yourself when you buy it, and rightly so, because the Big Issue is a reminder that newspapers can do more than inform or entertain. They can create change. And they do this by providing a platform for earning a legitimate income for homeless people and supporting them with long-term initiatives to improve their circumstances. So if you're feeling charitable towards homelessness, then purchasing a copy of the Big Issue is a commendable act of kindness. So as the day winds down, the commuters, they might trade their metros for the Evening Standard. It's a bit like London itself. It's fast-paced, urban, and just a little self-absorbed. Perfect for catching up on the latest news before heading to a rooftop bar or a dinner date. But to be honest, I'm tired of all this stereotyping, so I'm walking back home now, and the day's journey through London's newspapers lingers in my mind. It's not just about the papers themselves, but what they reveal about us. from The Guardian's progressive idealist to the Financial Times' ambitious professional. Each paper and its reader paints a picture of modern Britain. So here's my challenge to you. Next time you're in London, or anywhere really, take a look around. Spot the readers, whether they're clutching a tablet, scrolling on their phone, or holding one of the few remaining broadsheets. A reminder of how many newspapers have shifted from traditional broadsheets to tabloid or compact sizes to cater to modern readers who value convenience and portability. And imagine what their choice says about them. Thanks for joining me on this little stroll through London's newsstands. It reminds me how we're often unconsciously aware of the signals we put out, shaped by the cultures we live in. And I want to share a quick story with you. So when I was living in Australia, a friend once pointed out that my car's number plate signalled that I was, not financially successful. Apparently POVO plates, as she called them. POVO means poverty, short for poverty, right? And I had no idea about this. And suddenly I started noticing the difference everywhere. There were two types of number plates. One mostly on more modern cars and the other on slightly outdated cars. And while it actually made me laugh rather than made me feel insecure in any way, I'm very happy to be driving around in a beat up car. It made me realise there are an infinite amount of cultural signals we miss when we're not brought up in the environment. So yeah, next time you're spotting readers, whether on the tube or in a cafe, imagine the stories behind their choices. Remember, these stereotypes are just a bit of fun. Behind every paper is an individual with their own unique story that goes far beyond the headlines they're scanning. That's it for today. If you did want to support the show, then head over to thebritishenglishpodcast.com to learn more about the premium podcast that gives you access to the full-length recordings with manually edited transcripts, full-length glossaries defined for a non-native learner, and flashcards to help you revise the intermediate to advanced language on the go. And then if you wanted to practice your writing and speaking skills, then the Academy offers all of the premium podcast features, plus a 4-step method to help you retain the language, practice it yourself, submit your own writing assignments that get marked by native British English teachers like myself, and then come to a small group class on Zoom with myself or another British English teacher to practice the vocabulary and understand the nuances within context. So yeah, if you like the sound of any of those, head over to thebritishenglishpodcast.com to find out more, or check the links in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening to the end of this episode. My name is Charlie, and you've been listening to the British English Podcast.